Hi everyone, let's get started on our final set of lines 755 to 908 for Book 10, starting with this slide 755 to 780. Iam gravis aequabat luctus et mutua mavors funera. Now gravis mavors grim Mars, so gravis is grim Mars, aequabat dealt out luctus with funera, mournful deaths, that's a Hendiades, et mutua impartially. So now grim Mars dealt out mournful death impartially. Carebant pariterque roebant victores que victique, neque his fuga nota nequilis. So equally, that's the pariterque, gives us equally. Equally, victores, the conquerors, caedebant, cut down, the victi, the vanquished, who ruebant, who fell, I suppose, who fell, neque, and neither this side, or perhaps there was neither, there was no thought, so nota fuga, there was no thought of flight. So nota is the sense of knowledge, fuga is flight, his to this side, nequilis to that side. So cleanly, equally, victors cut down the vanquished who fell, and there was no thought of flight either to this side or that. Diovis intectis iram miserantor inanem mamboret tantos mortalibus esse labores. So the gods, intectis, so that plural gives us in the halls, Iois of Jupiter, miserantor, took pity on inanem. Inanem goes with iram on futile anger. Amborum, of the two armies. So the gods in the halls of Jupiter took pity on the futile anger of the two armies, and on the tantos labores, and on the great sufferings, I suppose, the great labours, I guess, or the great toils is maybe most accurate, the great toils, mortalibus, of mortal men, so noting the possessive dative there. Hinc Venus, hinc contraspectat Saturnia Juno. So Venus watches on from one side. So hinc Venus what spectat. Our main verb, we only need it once. So Venus watches on, hinc, from one side, so literally from here, and opposing her, contra, on the other side, Saturnian Juno. Pallida Tisiphone medintermilia saevit. The pale fury, Tisiphone, saevit, raged on in intermedia milia, in the midst of thousands. At vero ingentem quatiens besentius hastam turbidus ingreditor campo. And now Mezentius, turbidus, so turbidus, like a whirlwind. Quatiens, shaking his ingentem hastam, his huge spear, ingreditor, stalks, campo, the plain. Quam magnus Orion, as tall as Orion, so as great. So quam is your simile, word for a simile here, so magnus, great, Orion, so as great as Orion, or as tall as Orion. Incedit, so cum pedes incedit medi per maxima nerei stagna viam scindens, umero super imminetundas, aut sumus referenza nossa montibus ornum ingreditorque solet caput inter nubila condit, talis se vastis infert messentius armis. So walking on foot, that's your incedit pedes and cum, walking on foot, per or scindens, cutting viam, a path, per maxima stagna, through the great, the vast water, medi nere, of the middle of the ocean. Okay, so through the vast water in the middle of the sea. Superminet, he rises above undas, the waves, umero, with respect to his shoulder. So his shoulders rising above the waves. So as great as Orion, walking by foot and cutting a path through the vast water in the middle of the sea, his vast shoulders rising above the waves. Aut sumus referens, or we have to go all the way to ingreditur here. So, or he strides along, referens, carrying back, anosam ornum, an aged ash tree, sumis montibus, from the mountain heights. Quay kind of connects this together, solo with his, and on the ground, so literally on the ground, or we could say his feet on the ground, and with his feet on the ground, et caput, condit, his caput, his head is condit deep, so that's that verb for founding, but also for storing in something, so it's like that, the sense of being within the clouds, so his head stored deep inter nubila, amongst the clouds. Talis se vastis infert Mezentius armis. Just so Mezentius infert carried himself, so se infert carried himself, vastis, with his mighty armis, shoulders. So armis, from the word armus, not arma. Huic contra Aeneas speculatus in agmine longo obius ire parrat. Once, so speculatus is perfect passive participle, so once Aeneas had seen Huic, this man, contra, opposing him, in agmina longo, in the long battle line, parrat, historic present, he prepared, ire, to go, obius, and meet him, to go and face him. So once Aeneas saw this man opposing him in the long battle line, he prepared to go and meet him. Manet imperitus ille hostem magnanimum apperiens, et mole suas stat. Ille, that man, manet, remained, imperterritus, unafraid. Et mole sua stat, and mole, his own mass, or his huge mass, we might imply, stat, stood fast. Operiens, waiting to receive his hostem magnanimum, his great-hearted enemy. So Aeneas here is the great-hearted one, and Mezentius is the huge-bodied one. So that man remained unafraid, and his huge mass stood fast, waiting to receive his great-hearted enemy. Ad quoculis spatimensus quantum satis hastae. Atque, and then, spatium quantum, how much space, having been measured out, immensus, having measured out, spatium quantum, how much space, satis, imply erat, was enough, hastae, of a spear, oculis, with his eyes. So, and then he measured out the space for a spear cast with his eyes. We don't have a speaking verb here, so it's very rushed. Dextra, mihi deus et telum, quod missile libro nunc ad sint. So nunc, now, may my dextra, right hand, deus mihi, a god to me, or the thing I worship, et telum, and the weapon, quod missile libro, which I balance to throw. Ad sint gives us a sense of presence, so here it's going to be help me. So now may my right hand, the thing I worship, and the weapon I balance to throw, help me. Voveo praedonis corpore raptis indutum spoliis ipsum te lause tropeum Aeneae. So voveo, I vow, raptis spoliis, with the spoils having been snatched, corpore, from the body, praedonis, of the plunderer, that's Aeneas, indutum, to clothe, te you, lause lausus, tropeum a trophy, Aeneai of Aeneas. Or in nicer English, I vow that the spoils snatched from the body of that plunderer shall clothe you, Lausus, a trophy of Aeneas. Dixit, stridentem queminus hastam yecit. So he spoke and cast, Yecit cast his whistling spear, stridentem hastam, his whistling spear, eminus from a distance. At illa volans clipest excusa proculque egregium antoren latus in terre tilia figit. But illa volans, that flying spear, excusa est, glanced off Clopeo the shield, quae and procul, figit fixed, procul some way off, egregium antoren onto outstanding antores, inter latus et ilia, between the flank and the ilia, the groin. Hercules antoren comitem, qui missus abargis haeserate vandrat quat quitala concederat urbe. So Antores had been a comrade. So Antoren comitem, Antores had been a comrade, Hercules of Hercules, who missus abargis had been sent from Argis, and we'll imply the and here, haeserat had attached himself, ewandro to Evander, and also concederat, settled in his Itala urbe, in his Italian city. So moving to 781 to 811. Sternitor in felix alieno vulnere caelum quas picitet dulcis moriens reminiscitur arcis. So Infelix, that unlucky man, sternitur, was laid low, vulnere, by a wound, alieno, meant for another. And he looked, aspicit, he looked, caelum, at the heavens, and moriens, dying, reminiscitur, he remembered, dulcis Argos, sweet Argos. Tum pius Aeneas hastam iacit. Then devout Aeneas, hastam iacit, cast his own spear. Illa per orbem aere caum triplici per linea terga tribusque transiet in textum tauris opis imaque sedit inguine, sed vires haud per tulit. This is very challenging, I think. Illa, that weapon, transiet, is where we need to go to next. So transiet, passed through orbem, the boss, the boss of Mezentius's caum hollow or convex shield, triplici aere, with its 3 layers of bronze, descriptive ablative there, per linea terga tribusque in textum tauris opis. So through the terga, 3 layers, the layers of linen, and the tribus tauris, and the in textum, the 3 or thrice stitched hides of tauris, of bulls, imaque sedit inguine, and it's stuck ima deep in Mezentius's inguine, in his groin, but per tulit, did not carry vires its full strength, and the per gives us the sense of very far, so it did not carry its full strength per any further. Ocius in sema Aeneas viso tirreni sanguine laetus eripita feminet trepidanti fervidus instat. So viso sanguine, laetus. So we'll start with laetus, rejoicing, viso sanguine, at the sight of the Tyrrhenians' blood. Aeneas eripit, drew Occhius very quickly ensem, his sword, afemine, so from his thigh, so from the sheath at his thigh, et instat stood fervidus, hot-blooded, trepidanti, above or before the quivering man or the trembling man. So rejoicing at the sight of the Trinian's blood, Aeneas unsheathed his sword even more swiftly, or very swiftly, from the sheath at his thigh, and stood hot-blooded before the quaking man. Ingemuit cari graviter genitoris amore, ut vidit lausus lacrimaeque per ora volutae. So ut vidit is where we'll begin here. So ut vidit, as he saw it, lausus, ingemuit, groaned, graviter, deeply, with amore, with love, cari genitoris, an objective genitive here, with love for his cari dear genitoris father, quae, and lacrimae, tears, volutae, rolled, that's a past participle, rolled, per ora, down his face. Hic mortis durae cassum tua quoptima facta, si qua fidem tanto est operi latura vetustas, non equidem nec te juvenis memorande silebo. So I'll start with silebo here, because this is Virgil addressing the audience now. So now Lausus, and it is an apostrophe to Lausus, so I think it is good to say his name. Now Lausus, silebo, I will not be silent about the cassum, the misfortune of your durae mortis, of your cruel death, tuaque facta optima, and your glorious deeds. Si qua fidem tanto, so si qua gives us if only, vetustas, antiquity, so we might also just say time, if only time, latura, would bring or will bring fidem credence, credibility, operi tanto, to your great exploit. So non equidem nec gives a kind of negates silebo again. So never will I remain silent, te, about you, juvenis memorande, O you youth, so worthy of remembrance. Noting the juxtaposition here with memorande and silebo, which is quite nice. Ille pedem referens et inutilis inque ligatus cedebat clipper quim nimicum hastile trahebat. So I didn't read that too well, but just note there is an allusion just here and here as well, so a hasty line perhaps. Ille, that man, or Mezentius, referens pedem, carrying back his foot, so retreated, both inutilis, defenseless, and in ligatus, hampered, so noting the temesis there. So Mezentius I've jumped ahead. I'm so sorry about that. I am just going to have to keep recording, otherwise I'll have to go back to the very beginning, so you'll have to go from just from the sound of the Latin, I'm afraid, without seeing it in front of you. So we're still working through the previous slide, set of slides. We're up to line 794. So Mezentius retreated, both inutilis, defenseless, and hampered. He cedebat, backed away, and trahebat, took with him inimicum hastile, an enemy's spear, clipeo, in his shield. So at 796, proripuit juvenis sese quimiscuit armis, iam quad sergentis dextra plagamque ferrentis Aeneae subiet mucronipsumque morando sustinuit. So Euenus, the young man, or young Lausus, proripuit, dashed forward, and immiscuit armis, so say immersed himself armis in battle. Iamque now as Aeneai, the right hand, I suppose. So we'll take this a bit more literally, I think, just to play out the Latin. So iamque now, subiit he ducks beneath, or ducked beneath, dextra, the right hand, Aeneai of Aeneas, ad surgentis, rising or risen to his full height, and ferentis, and holding mucronem, his sword, aloft, morando ipsum, morando plagam, so by delaying the blow, or rather we could say delaying him, rather, or by delaying him, or rather he sustinuit, he parried plagam, the blow, dextra actually should be with his right hand. Now I look at it more closely, so an ablative of means there, morando, delaying him. So let's go through that again. Uncleanly, then I'll give you a version that I think works better, less passively, I suppose. So, iamque, and now, subiit he, being Lausus, ducked beneath, I guess, the plagam, the blow, Aeneai of Aeneas, risen to his full height, ad surgentis, risen to his full height, and ferentis, carrying his mucronem, his sword, aloft. Sustinuit, he parried, and again we'll take the blow, plagam as the object here, the blow dextra with his right arm, morando, delaying ipsum, that man being Aeneas. But we could maybe make this a bit more active. So now, as Aeneas, ad surgentis, was risen to his full height, ferentis, and was holding mucronem, his sword, aloft, I guess. Lausus subiit, ducked beneath it. Sustinuit, let's make that a participle, so parrying plagam, the blow dextra with his right arm, morando, delaying him. Circi magno clamore secuntur, dum genitor nati parma protectus abiret. So his comrades secuntur followed on, clamore magno, with a great shout. So dum here is with abiret, the subjunctive, so it's going to be until genitor, his father, should abiret, get away, protectus, protected, parma nati, by the shield of his son. Telaque coniciunt per turbant queminus hostem missilibus. And they, coniciunt, hurled missiles, and through Aeneas, so hostem being Aeneas, the enemy, Aeneas, perturbant, into disorder, eminus, at a distance, missilibus, with their missiles. Furit Aeneas tectusque tenet se. Aeneas raged, but held himself, tenet se, held himself tectus, under cover of his shield. So tectus being a roof, here it's going to be I guess a protective covering, metaphoric perhaps for shield. Aquelo, just like effusasi quando grandine nimbi praecipitant. So this is another of the great similes in this section. Just like when clouds, nimbi praecipitant, precipitate, I suppose, or here descend, and grandine, hailstones, effusa, pour down, omnis, and every arator, every ploughman, campus diffugit, scatters across the plains, omnis et agricola, so every ploughman and every farmer scatters across the plains. So that's campus diffugit, gives us the sense of scattering across. Et tuta latet arche viator, and the traveller latet hides in a tuta arche, safe fortress. Aut amnis ripis aut alti fornicae saxi, either by the amnis ripis, the banks of a rushing river, or fornicae, beneath the alti fornicae, the high archway, rather the fornicae behind the archway, alti saxi, of a high rock. Dum pluit in terris, while it rains over the earth or onto the earth. Ut possint, in order that sole reducte, they can exercere diem, excuse me, I should read the whole thing, in order that they can exercere, get on diem with the day, sole reducto, after the sun has returned. Sic obrutus undique telis Aeneas nubem belli, dum detonet omnis, sustinetet laus increpitat lausoque minator. Thus Aeneas, obrutus, buried, undique, from all sides, telis, by missiles, sustinet, withstood, the nubem belli, the cloud of war, or the storm of war, maybe more powerfully. Dum detonet, so again a dum with the subjunctive, so until each, so omnis is going to be each cloud, I suppose. Detonet should stop thundering, so tono tonare is to thunder, detonare is to stop thundering. And increpitat lausum, he taunted Lausus and made threats lauso at Lausus, or at him. Which gets us to just the last line in this section, 811. Quo moriture ruis maioraque viribus audes. Why do you rush on to your death? And why do you take on tasks beyond your strength? And this gets us to the next section, 811 to 832. Falit te incautum pietas tua. So your tua pietas, your pietas, falit te, deceives you. Incautum, reckless, a reckless one. So deceives you, reckless as you are. Nec minus ille exultat demens, saeveing iam qualtius irae, Dardanios surgunt ductori, extrema quelauso parcae fila legunt. So ille is going to be lausus here. So, but lausus exultat, exalted, minus, nec minus, no less. Demens, raging on. And now Saiwai Irai, the fierce rage, Dardanio Ductori, of the Trojan commander, Sorgun rose, Altius even higher. So, and now the fierce rage of the Dardanian, the Trojan commander, rose even higher. So that's a possessive dative. Extremaque lauso parcae phyla sunt. So the parcae here are the fates, and the fates legunt had gathered the extrema phyla, the final threads, lauso for lausus. Validum nam quexigit ensem, per medium Aeneas juvenem totumque recondit. Nam, so for Aeneas exigit, drove his validum ensem, his mighty sword, per medium, through the middle of the young man, juvenem, of the young man, and recondit, hid it, totum, completely within him. Transit et parma mucro leviarma minacis, et tunica molli mater quam ne verat auro, implevitque sinum sanguis. Mucro, the sword, transit, passed, through the parma, the shield, levia arma minacis, a frail defense, minacis, for one so threatening. Levia gives us the sense of frail there, so light arms, minacis, of one threatening, so a frail defense to one so threatening. Et tunicam molli mater quam ne verat auro, and through the tunic, quam, so which mater, his mother, ne verat, had embroidered with molli, auro, auro and molly are together here, with pliable gold. And it filled, implevit, it filled, sinum, the fold, I suppose, so the folds of the tunic's folds, sanguis, with blood. Tum vita per auras concessit maestad manes corpusque reliquit. Then, vita, his life, I guess, concessit, left, I suppose, his life left corpus, his body, and so we'll take, we'll try that again. So tum vita, then his life, reliquit, left behind, corpus, his body, concessit, and passed, meister, mournfully, per auras, back here, per auras, through the air, ad manis, to the shades below. At verut vultum vidit morientis et aura modis ancisiades palentia miris, ingemuit miserans graviter dextramque tetendit, et mentem patriae subiit pietatis imago. But when Aeneas, son of Anchises, so Ancisiades here gives us Aeneas, son of Anchises. So at vero, but when Aeneas, son of Anchises, vidit, saw, vultum morientis, the face of the morientis, of the dying boy, et ora, and the mouth we might say actually for vultum et ora, the face and the expression, or even just the facial expression of the dying boy. So we'll say the facial expression for vultum and ora, there and there, the facial expression of the dying boy. And the mouth ora, the second ora here, so this one, this ora, the mouth palentia, growing strangely white, or ora palentia, the whitening mouth, I suppose, the mouth growing white. Modis in a strange manner, I guess. So growing strangely white, I think, works better. Ingemuit, he groaned graviter, deeply, miserans, taking pity, I suppose, on the boy. So he groaned deeply, and taking pity on the boy, to tend it, he stretched out dextram, his right hand, and mentem, the thought, or even I think imago, the image, but I guess the thought of pietatis, of his own devotion, patriae, paternal devotion here. So patria here is referring to one's father. So his own paternal devotion, subiet, I guess, came back, mentem, to his mind. Quid tibi nunc miserande puer pro laudibus istis, quid pius Aeneas tanta dabit indole dignum. So what, to you now, miserande puer, pitiable boy, dabit, Aeneas pius. So what can devout Aeneas dabit give tibi, to you nunc now, pitiable boy, miserande puer, to so on behalf of laudibus istis, that gallantry, so I guess to match, maybe to match your gallantry, what tanta indole, dignum, what is worthy of tanta, so great, indole, nobility, I think. So what can what will devout Aeneas give you now, pitiable boy, to match your gallantry? What is worthy of such great nobility? Arma quibus laetatus habe tua. So habe, have, tua arma, your own arms. So keep your arms. Quibus laetatus, with which you have rejoiced. Teque parentum manibus et cineri. Si qua est ea cura remito. And I shall send you back, or I do send you back. We'll give it the future tense though. So, and I shall send you back, manibus, to the hands, parentum, of your ancestors. So parentum is plural here, so of your ancestors, et cineri, and to ash. Si qua est ea cura, if that is any cura, comfort, to you. Hoc tamen infelix miseram solabere mortem, Aeneae magni dextra caris. So again, in Felix, unlucky boy. solabere is a contraction of solabere, so you will have comfort in your miseram mortem, or rather this comfort, so one comfort perhaps. So hoc gives us this, which gives us one, I suppose. So nevertheless, tamen, nevertheless, infelix, unlucky boy, solabere, you will have hoc, one comfort, miseram mortem, in your wretched death. Cadis, you fell dextra by the right hand, Aeneae magni of great Aeneas. Increpat ultro cunctantes socios et ira et terra sublevat ipsum sanguine turpantem comptos de more capillos. So increpat, he rebuked the cunctantes socios, the delaying comrades, and ipsum, himself, or by his own accord, I think works really well. Sublevat, lifted that body, terra, from the earth, turpantem, as it was befouling his comptos capillos, his hair, de more, so arranged carefully. So comptos, arranged, his hair arranged, perhaps arranged carefully, de modo, in its customary way, so as it usually was, sanguine, with blood. So he rebuked the delaying comrades of his own accord, and lifted of his own accord that body from the earth, as it was befouling his hair, arranged carefully as it usually was, with blood. Inter genitor Tiberini ad fluminis undam vulnera siccavat lymphis corpusque levabat orboris acclinis trunco. So meanwhile, Lausus's father, Lausus's father, siccabat, was staunching, vulnera, his wounds, ad undam, at the waters, so at the banks, Tiberini fluminis, of the river Tiber, Lymphis, with its waters, and levabat corpus, and resting his body, arboris acclinis trunco. So acclinis, it's where we get a sense of recline from, so back against, so resting his body back against the trunk, arboris, of a tree. Procul aerea ramis dependet galea, et prato graviarma quiescunt. So a little way off, his aerea galea, his golden helmet, dependet, hung, from ramis, the branches, and gravia arma, his heavy arms, lay silent, quiescunt, lay silent, or rested, so lay silent, prato, in the meadow. Stant lecti circum juvenes, so lecti juvenes, chosen young men. So they are particularly good men. This is where we're up to. Chosen young men, stant, stood, circum, around him. Ipse, Mezentius, anhelans, aiger, breathing, aiger, painfully, woundedly, so breathing painfully, foet, bathed, colla, his neck, and propexam barbam, his hanging beard, fusus, flowed, or he flowed his hanging beard in pectore over his chest. So, and his hanging beard flowed over his chest, I think works most nicely, but just note that fusus is masculine, agreeing with Mezentius. Multa super lauso rogitat. So he asked about lausus. So super lauso, about lausus. Multa, again and again, so many times, again and again. And here's some nice repetition. Multumque remitit, qui revocent maestique ferant mandata parentis. And remitit, he kept sending men back. Qui revocent, so purpose clause using qui here. So to recall him being the son, and ferant mandata, and bring orders, maesti parentis, from his grim father. At lausum sociex animem super arma ferebant flentes, ingentat quingenti vulnere victum. But his friends, so his comrades, his friends, were carrying lausus, lausum lausus ex animem, spread out, lifeless, I suppose, so lifeless, I guess, and spread out super arma on top of his shield. Flentes, note the enjambment, flentes, as they wept. Ingentem victum, a mighty warrior, victum defeated, ingenti vulnere, by a mighty wound. Agnovit longe, gemitum praesaga mali mens. Longe, from afar, Mezentius agnovit, perceived, gemitum, their groaning, and praesaga mali, a presentiment of evil. So mens here means his mind. So the mind of Mezentius, because it's the mind doing the perceiving, perceived their groaning and a presentiment of evil. So it's quite powerful, I think, this monosyllabic ending, carrying with it this sensory moment for Mezentius. Canitiam multo deformat pulveret ambas ad caelum tendit palmas et corpore inhaeret. So, deformat, he mucked up, his canitium, his white hair, with multo pulvere, with much dust, so with heaping dust, and tendit, stretched out, ambas palmas, both hands, we could even say both palms, ad caelum, to heaven, and inhaeret corpore, this is very sad, and clung to corpore, the body of his son, to his son's body. And again, he rushes into speech without a speaking verb. Tantane me tenuit vivendi nate, volupta sut prome hostili paterer succedere dextrae, quem genui. so much me tenuit. So much held me. Voluptas, the pleasure, vivendi, of living, nate, my son. So much pleasure, vivendi, of living, me tenuit, tenuit held me, my son. So much did the pleasure of living hold me, my son. Ut, that, so this is a result clause, that I succedere, rather paterer, that I allowed, you quem genui, you whom I bore, succedere, to meet dextrae, the arms, hostili, the hostile arms, the enemy arms, the arms of my enemy, pro me, on my behalf, or instead of me. So much was I held by the pleasure of living, my son, that I allowed you whom I bore, to meet the arms of my enemy, on my behalf. Tuane haec genitor per vulnera servor morte tua vivens? So another question. Am I, servor, protected? Tua genitor, genitor, your father, per tua vulnera, by these wounds of yours, vivens, living, morte tua, by your death. So am I, your father, protected by these wounds of yours? Am I living because of your death, or because you faced death? Heu, alas, nunc misero mihi demum exitium in felix, nunc alte vulnus ad actum. So now, exitium in felix, unhappy death, mihero, misero mihi. So now at last, demum is at last, exitium in felix, unhappy death, is, and this is a predicative dative, misero mihi, as a misery to me. So unhappy death brings misery to me. So nunc, now, demum, at last, exitium in felix, unlucky death, brings misery, mihi, to me. Now, nunc, vulnus, the wound, ad actum, has driven in alte, deeply. So now unhappy death has brought misery to me. Now the wound has driven in deeply, or all the more deeply, perhaps. So moving on to 851 to 873. Idem idego nate tuum maculavi crimine nomen, pulsus ob invidiam solios sceptrisque paternis. So I alone, idem ego, I alone, nate, my son, maculavi, have stained, nomen tuum, your name, crimine, with my crime. Pulsus, driven, solio, from my throne, and the sceptris, the scepter paternis, of my fathers, ob invidiam, by the hatred, I guess, of men. Debueram, I had deserved, patria poenas odisque meorum, the punishments of my fatherland, odisque meorum, and the hate meorum of my own men, and all the hatred of my people. Omnes per mortes animam sontipse dedisem. So dedisem, I should have paid per animam sontem, for this guilty life, per mortes, omnes, so by all deaths. So dedisem ipse, I should have paid animam sontem, for this guilty life, per omnis mortis, by all kinds of death. Nunc vivo neque nequad huc homines lucemque relinquo. Nunc, but now I live, and ad hoc, as yet, relinquo, I have not left behind men, so homines, men, and lucem, light. So I've not left behind the world of men, perhaps, and lucem, the light of life. So we can take lucem as a metaphor for the light of life. Sed linquam, but I shall forsake it. Simul hoc dicens attolit in aegrum se femer et. So simul, while he dicens was speaking hoc, these words, attolit, he propped himself, he propped himself on his aegrum femur, onto his wounded thigh, and quamquam vis alto vulnere tardat, although tardat, he was slow, from the violence of his alto vulnere, of his deep wound. How deiectus equum duci jubet. He was not cast down, so deiectus haud, he was not cast down, and jubet ordered equum, his horse, duci, drawn over. So duci here is not a dative for leader, it is a passive infinitive. So ordered his horse drawn over. Hoc decus illi, hoc solamen erat, bellis hoc victor abibat omnibus. So this was decus, so this horse, decus, was a glory, illi, to that man. So this was his glory, and solamen, his comfort. Okay. So Bellis, in all his wars, abibat, he left Bellis, or from all his wars, victorious, hoc, on this horse. So, and on this horse he had left all his wars victorious. Omnibus goes with Bellis. I should say just omnibus there with Bellis. So powerful for the enjambment, but also the enclosed word order. Ad loquitur maerentet talibus infit. He spoke to his maerentem, to his mournful horse, talibus, such words, or in these words. Raebe di res siquad mortalibus ulla est, viximus. So Ribus, viximus, we have lived, diu. So we've got a viximus, we have lived, diu, for a long time. Siqua, if any, res, life, so ulla, res, if any, so ulla and res over here go together. So if any life is due long mortalibus, for mortal men. Aut hodi victor spolila cruenti et caput Aeneae referes lausique dolorum ultoreris mecum. Aut aperit si nulla viam vis occumbes pariter. So either referes, you will bring back spolia, the spoils, et caput, and head Aeneae of Aeneas, victor, as his conqueror, hodi, today. I've left out cruenti. Bloody Aeneas, head of bloody Aeneas today, and with me, ultor eris mecum. So mecum is with me, and you will be ultor, the avenger, with me, of dolorum, of the sufferings. So that's plural, so of the sufferings, lausi, of Lausus. So either today you will bring back those spoils and the head of bloody Aeneas, and with me you will be the victor of the sufferings of Lausi, the avenger of the sufferings of Lausus, or aperit si nulla viam vis, or if aperit, if it appears, or should it appear, if it should appear there is no no strength finds a way. Okay, so that's a very tricky negation. So if strength doesn't find a way, I guess is really what it's saying. If strength doesn't find a way, pariter occumbes, we will die together. Okay, so occumbes, you will die equally, I guess is really what it means. So we will die, pariter, together with me. You will die together with me. Or we can just say we will die together. Nequenim fortissimi credo, ius aliena patiet, patet dominos dignabere tucros. Enim 4, fortissime, as brave as you are, neque credo, I do not believe. Dignabere, you will deign. Pati, to endure. Iusa, the commands. Aliena, of another man. Nor, so and, Tucros dominos, and Trojan masters. So we could say nor Trojan masters. For credo neque, I do not believe that. Fortissime, as brave as you are. Dignabere, you will deign. Pati, to endure. Iusa aliena, foreign commands, so the commands of another. Et, so nor, Tucros and dominos, Trojan masters. Dixit, he spoke. Et exceptus tergo consueta locavit membra manus quambas iaculis oneravit acutis. So he spoke, and exceptus, he was received. Tergo, by I guess we can imply Raibus here. So he was received by Raibus, locavit, as he placed membra consueta, his accustomed limbs, tergo, over his back, and oneravit, grasped, acutis iaculis, sharp javelins, manus ambas, in both his hands. Aere caput fulgens Christa quersutos equina, and caput, his head, and on his head a on his bronze head flashing, I suppose. So on his head he wore a helmet, flashing bronze or gleaming with bronze, and hirsutus Christe equina, hirsutus gives us shaggy, equina, horsehair, Christa crest. So on his head he wore a helmet gleaming with bronze and a shaggy horsehair crest. Sic cursum in medios rapidus dedit, aestuat ingens, uno in corde pulor mixtoque insania luctu. So in such a way did he quickly give dedit cursum, his course, for the middle of battle. So did he quickly set his course for the middle, in medios, for the middle of battle. Aestuat ingens, uno in corde pulor mixtoque insania luctu. A huge pudor, ingens pudor, a huge shame, aestuat seethed, insania with madness, and mixto luctu, mixed with grief, uno as one, in corde, in his heart. This brings us to the final showdown, I suppose, of the book. At quic anean magnater voce vocavit. And then Mezentius, so hic Mezentius vocavit, called Aeneas, ter, 3 times, magna voce, with a great voice. Aeneas agnovit enim laetusque precator. Aeneas recognized him, and precator prayed, laetus, happily. Enim's going to give us the sense of indeed. So Aeneas recognized him and prayed, happily indeed. Sic pater ille deum faciat, sic altus Apollo. So may that Father deum of the gods bring it about. Sic, thus. May altus Apollo, may lofty Apollo bring it about thus, that incipias you join, you should begin conferre, to join manum. It's really join the band or join hands, I suppose. So it's a sense of joining combat with each other. Which is unfinished, so we sort of assume, I suppose, that that's what he means. Tante fatus et in vesta subit obius hasta. So Fatus, having spoken tantum so much, so once he'd spoken so much, subit he made for Mezentius, with his infesta hasta, with his hostile spear. Ille autem, however, Mezentius replied, quid me repto, sae vissime nato terres? Sae vissime, oh, you cruel man. Quid, so we'll take it as why. Terres, why do you frighten me? But we don't really believe that he's frightening, so perhaps why do you try to frighten me? Erepto nato, my son has already been taken. You've already taken my son. So, oh, you cruel man, why do you try to frighten me? You've already taken my son. Haec via sola fuit qua perdere posses. So this haec sola was the only via way, qua, by which posses perdere, by which you could ruin me. Nec mortem horremus, nec divum parcimus uli. So these are poetic plurals here. So horemus, we do not shudder. So I do not shudder at death, nor do I parcimus give way uli divum to any divum of the gods. So to any gods. Note the partitive genitive there. So I don't shudder with at death or with fear of death, nor do I give way to any gods. Desine nam venio moriturus et haec tibi porto dona prius. So stop. Stop where you are, I guess. Nam for venio, I am coming to you. Moriturus, about to die, or maybe prepared to die. Prius, but first. Porto, I carry. Haec dona, these gifts. Tibi, to you. Dixit, he spoke. Telum quintorsit in hostem, and then he hurled his hostem, his telum rather, his spear in hostem at his enemy. Inde then, so inde does mean from there, but it can also mean then. So then, figit, he fixed, aliud, another, super, so really gives a sense of straight away here, and voila, let fly, aliud, another. Quae ingenti giro, sed sustinet aureus umbo. So but, so sed gives us but the golden shield, aureus, but the golden shield with its ingenti giro, its huge giro, circle, I suppose, with its huge circular bulk, sustinet, withstood the attack. So he spoke and hurled his spear at his enemy. Then he fixed another, and straightway, and voila, let fly, aliud, another. Ingenti giro, in a huge circle. So I think this gives, I forgot to include that in my translation before, it gives a sense of him rushing around, riding around him on horseback. Sed sustinet aureus umbo, but the aureus umbo, the golden shield, withstood the attack. Ter circum astantem, so ter circa stantem laevos equitavit in orbes telemanu iaciens. Per secum Troius heros immanenaerat circum fertegminae silvam. So Mezentius equitavit rode ter 3 times in orbes, in circles, laevos to the left, Ovenius astantem, who stood fast, iaciens, casting tela, spears, manu, from his free hands. Ter 3 times, Troius heros, the Trojan hero, circumfert, bore around, immanen silvam, the immense forest, tegmine, aerato, with his shield, cast from bronze. Inde, ubi tot traxisse moras, tot spicula taidet vellere, et urgetur pugna congressus iniqua, multa movens animo iam tandem erumpit, et interbellatoris equi, cava tempora conicit hastam. Then, ubi, when he traxisse moras, grew tired of these delays, totien, so long or so much so often. So when he grew tired of these delays going on or dragging on so long, of Taidet pulling out tot spikola so many spears, and Urgitor under pressure from having been, I guess, attacked Pugna Iniqua in an uneven fight, and under pressure from fighting, I suppose, on an uneven fight or battle or duel, perhaps. Multa movens animo, moving many thoughts animo in his mind, so rolling through many thoughts in his mind. I like that imagery. Yam already. Tandem at last erumpit, he burst out, et interbellatoris equi cava tempora conicit hastam, and hurled, conicit hastam, hurled his spear through the cava tempora, the hollow temples, bellatoris equi, of the warrior horse. Tolit se rectum quadripes. So ribus here is the subject. So ribus tolit, raised, say him itself up. Quadripes, on its hind legs, and verberat, beat the air with its calcibus auras. So beat auras, the air, with its calcibus, its hoofs, and effusum equitem super ipse secutus implicat iector quim cumbit cernus armo, and cast off equitem, its rider, and implicat, standing over, standing over, super Mezentius, he followed and so super, standing over him, he followed, secutus ipse, he followed, and implicat, pinned down his rider, and Armo, his shoulder dislocated, so, and his shoulder dislocated, Cernus, head first, incumbit, he put weight on his rider. So to tidy that up, he cast off his rider, and standing over Mezentius, he followed head first, I think is where that should belong, and as his shoulder dislocated, he pinned his rider to the ground, I think we need to imply. I forgot to, I'm very sorry, I forgot to jump into the next set of slides. So you'll see this is where we've just gone through here. So clamore, with a shout, the Trojans and Latins incendunt caelum, set the sky alight, clamore, with their shouts. So Troiesque Latinique, so the Trojans and the Latins set the sky alight with their shouts. Ad volat Aeneas vaginaque ripitensem et super haec, as Aeneas ad volat, flew at his enemy, tearing his sword from his sheath, and stood over him. He said, Ubi nunc Mezentius acer et ille effera vis animi. Where is acer Mezentius, keen Mezentius, nunc, now, and Where is that ephera vis, wild anime spirit of his? Contra Tyrannus ut auras suspiciens hausit caelum mentem quae recepit. Contra, in reply, the Tyrrhenian, as he hausit gulped up the caelum auras, I suppose, the heavenly air, and suspiciens recovered mentem, his mind, recepit. Recepit's recovered mentem, his mind. So I'll just tidy that up because it's not coming out very nicely. As hausit, he gulped at the air, suspiciens caulum, admiring the heavens, and recepit mentem, he recovered his mind. Note, we don't have a speaking word here, so it just jumps straight into speech. Hostis amare, bitter enemy, so not to love, but bitter here, so hostis amare, bitter enemy, quid increpitas mortemque minaris, why do you threaten me, and increpitas, goad me, I suppose, or no, that doesn't really work, chide me. I had a better word for it before, but it's gone, so chide me, mortem, with death. Nullum in caere nefas, no sin in slaughter. There is no sin in slaughter. Nec sic ad proelia veni, and I came ad proelia to battle. Sic thus, so on those terms. So there is no sin in slaughter, and I came to battle on those terms. And nec tecum meus haec pepigit mihi ferdera lausus, and meus lausus, my boy Lausus, pepigit did not further make his bargain, tecum with you, mihi, on my behalf. Unoc persiquast victis venia hostibus oro. Or I ask unum, one thing of you, siqua, if there can be venia mercy, victis hostibus, for a defeated enemy. Corpus humo patiare tegi, allow corpus, my body, patiare, to be buried, humo, in the ground. Scio, I know, acerba meorum circumstare odia, I know the acerba odia, the bitter hatred, meorum, of my people, circumstare, surrounds me. Hunc oro, defende furorem et me consortem nati concede sepulchro. This, oro, I beg of you, defend me from their furorem, from their furor, and concede, grant me consortem, as a partner, sepulchro, in the grave, nati, of my son. So grant me to lie with my son in a joint grave. Haec loquitur, he said these things, Eugoloque quaud inscius accipit ensem, undanti quanimam diffundit in arma cruore. He said these things, and haud inscius, not unknowing, so with full knowledge, accipit, he took ensem, the sword, eugolo, in his throat, and diffundit, poured out, animam, his soul, in arma, onto his arms, undanti cruore, in streams of blood. And that's where we finish. Thank you.